Hey folks, welcome back to Tech and More Tech. Today I'm going to show you how to get SmartThings loaded into your Homebridge and then loaded into your Home app on your iPhone. This is probably the most useful plugin you can have because between HomeKit compatible devices and devices that are compatible with SmartThings, you can pretty much control just about every smart home device there is. So the few things that I'll be using today that you might need to follow along is obviously a Raspberry Pi that already has Homebridge installed. If you don't already have Homebridge running on a Raspberry Pi or any other device, then pause this, check the link in the description below, and then follow the entire guide to install Homebridge on a Raspberry Pi. Once you're done, then come back here. The next things that you will need is obviously a SmartThings hub. I'll also be using a Mac to interface with the Raspberry Pi and then an iPhone to do all the app side of things. You can also use a PC if you have one, but you won't be able to follow along quite as easily. So let's get started. First step is to go to your computer and just go to your browser. So all the links that I will be using are going to be in the description below. However, if you want to just follow along in the easiest way, here's how you'd go about doing things. So first things first, go to Google, type in Homebridge SmartThings. First link will be SmartThings version 2.0. That is the version that we are installing. It's completely new, so you can't just update from the current version of SmartThings. If you are currently running it, you have to delete the old plugin you had and reinstall this one because it's basically completely new. So we're going to click on this link here for the instructions because that's what we care about. This is all the GitHub files that we don't really care about right now. We're going to scroll down to the installation. There are two options. Option one, which is the easier one, that's one we're going to do right now, versus the manual GitHub integration. If you're more code savvy and use GitHub, then maybe that's the better option for you. But right now, we're just going to use the community installer. Cool. Now we follow along and we scroll down just a little to the installation portion. It is super straightforward. The first link you click is this one, and it's just code. And that's fine. What we're going to do is select everything with Control or Command A and copy it. We can close that because we don't need it anymore. And then what we're going to do is go to this next link, which is id.smartthings.com, and that's for the US ones. Europe and other countries have their own link there. So we're going to open that in a new tab, and we're going to sign in. I'm already signed in because I'm already signed in. And we're going to go up to My SmartThings up here in the top. Okay, so we've got our smart apps, we're signed in. This is really finicky, especially if you got a Samsung account versus a SmartThings account. One thing you want to make sure to do before everything is go to click on My Hubs and make sure your hub shows up. For whatever reason, sometimes it won't, but that's all you got to do. Now we're going to go back to My Smart Apps. We're going to click on New Smart App. We're going to go to From Code because that's where we're doing it from. And all that code we just copied from that previous tab, we're just going to paste. We're going to leave it there. Don't change anything. Just click on Create. And then Save up here in the top right. And then Publish for me. It's your only option. Easy peasy. You're going to go to Apps. Then what we can do is go to App Settings because they are right there. And then what you need to do is click on the OAuth and authorization. You need to enable this. So click on Enable, auto-generated, easy peasy, and hit on Update. That's all you got to do. This will pop up here. Don't show that to anyone. I've got it blurred out, so that's easy. Now that you've completed that, the next step is actually going to be on your phone. So go ahead and load the SmartThings Classic app. If you don't have that one downloaded, just go to the App Store and download it. It's a blue circle and a white background. It works just a little bit differently than the standard SmartThings app, and you'll need it to load the plugin. Tap on that, and in the bottom right, you've got Marketplace and My Apps. You got the SmartThings Community Installer. Tap on that. Okay, so you're going to select your SmartThings Community. You're going to select the ID login type. You're going to go install our home. And this is where we're going to sign in with our account. And here's where you're going to install the Homebridge part of things. So if you scroll down just a wee bit, you get to Homebridge version 2. Scroll down a little further and hit on Install. Installation in progress. You can just hang out. Wait for it to install. And installation process complete. That's easy. So hit on done and save. And now if you go down to my apps, okay, and here we have the Homebridge version 2.0. And what we can do here is now select which devices we want to bring over to Homebridge and which ones we want to sync into our home app. You don't want to select everything necessarily unless you have everything through SmartThings only, because you're going to end up with like duplicate devices. So for example, if you have like something like an Ecobee thermostat like I do, I have it in SmartThings, but it's also natively HomeKit compatible, so I don't want it to show up twice and just cause issues. So all I'm going to do is actually go to define device types. And the reason I'm doing it this way is because all the devices that I'm bringing over are light switches, and they're Z-Wave switches because I find those to be the best, but they're also dimmers. So a switch can only be on or off, but a dimmer can be different sets. So if I actually define it as a light, I can then have the option of basically just defining its brightness or its level. So my ceiling lights, those are in my living room. I got my guest bedroom light, got my master bedroom lights, my kitchen lights, and my office fan. That one is also just a sort of on-off, but it's easier to define it this way because then you can say, hey, turn off all the lights, and it turns off all the lights. It'll know from SmartThings whether or not it's dimmable. So we're going to select those 5. Done. And I don't have any virtual devices. I don't have any of this other stuff. You can type Fahrenheit because I'm in the US. And then what we want to do, which we always do, is render the platform data for Homebridge config.json. Take this. I'm going to select all of this and copy. And done. And save. So now it's done, but now I need to install it on Homebridge. So what I'm going to do is go back to my computer and do it there. So what I'm going to do is do my config.json. Open up this file. You can open it in whichever version you want. Let's see if it pasted. It did. Happy days. If you go here on this page, it'll tell you which information you need from the app for the config file. Basically, the only ones you need are the platform name and then the app URL and app ID access token. Everything else, like all of this stuff, is unnecessary. But since it was just a straight copy paste, there's really no need to delete it for any reason unless like you're having issues. So I'm going to save this config file, and then I'm going to open up terminal. I'm going to SSH into my Raspberry Pi, and then we are going to install the SmartThings plugin, which is npm-i-g. First I'm going to add sudo, because you want your admin privileges. Sometimes you'll get 70% through the install and then it just doesn't work and you're like, what the hell? And it's because you didn't put sudo. So we're gonna hit enter, or we're gonna see how this goes. I'm gonna fast forward through this because it'll probably take 5-10 minutes. Alrighty, we didn't get any errors, so it looks like it worked all fine. Now we need to basically update the config.json file, so we're gonna quickly exit the SSH. We're gonna use terminal to go to where the config.json file lives on your local computer. I'm doing everything from a Mac, and then my Raspberry Pi is a headless unit just attached to my router, which is why I'm using terminal. You can also use the config UI plugin that lets you do everything through a web interface. Mine doesn't work with that, so I'm just doing it this way. I have a link down below to kind of show exactly how to do everything. So first thing I'm going to do is just change my directory to get to where I keep my config file, and then double check, config.json's right there, easy peasy, scp config.json, and then pi at raspberry pi.local : tilde.homebridge. And this basically just transfers your config file to your Raspberry Pi. Took me a very long time to figure out how to do this, but that's how you do it. And it transferred. It's a tiny file, shouldn't take long at all. Now that you've transferred your config.json file successfully, all that's left is pretty much just restarting Homebridge. If you already have a sort of plugin that allows you to restart Homebridge on a reboot of your Raspberry Pi, you can do it that way. I'm actually going to start it manually because I want to make sure that the plugin loads correctly and there's no errors associated with it. So first step, SSH back into the Raspberry Pi, very easy. And then what you're going to do is actually do a command called sudo kill all Homebridge, and it's going to kill any Homebridge processes because you don't want multiple instances of it running. You're going to keep typing this just a few times until you get this, which says no process found. That means you've killed any process, any lingering thing happening. Because if you do, you'll get this error like I have above, which is error EADD are in use, and it just means that one of the ports is already being used for Homebridge. So yeah, so then once that's done, you can actually just launch Homebridge, type in Homebridge, and enter. Usually takes about however many minutes, depending on which Raspberry Pi you have, and then it should show up with loaded config and all that stuff. So we'll give it a minute, and then here we go. It is starting. So it's loaded the config.json file, which is good, no errors. One platform, which is a SmartThings platform that I have. Here we go. It's loading the SmartThings v2 platform, which is great. So far, so good. Here we go. All good. As you can see here, there's no errors with the SmartThings plugin. It worked and installed just fine. So all that's left to do is to load it into the Home app. All right, now that we have Homebridge running and we see that SmartThings has loaded properly into Homebridge, we can go into the Home app, as we see here, and we're going to add Homebridge, add accessory. I find it easier just to type in the code, if I'm honest, and add anyway, 031545154. Adding Homebridge, and if all goes according to plan, we should have our 6 accessories show up in Homebridge. Already added, and 1 of 6, beautiful. I'm just going to quickly go through and add this into all of the different rooms that I have. And that's it. That's all you have to do to get SmartThings to work with HomeKit. Now you can take all those non-HomeKit devices and still use them natively within the Home app or with Siri. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below and I'll get to them as best I can. If you liked the video, hit that like and subscribe button for plenty more videos to come. And until next time, see ya.